A Jammu and Kashmir police constable was killed while his 9-year-old daughter was injured when terrorists opened fire on them in Soura area outskirts of Srinagar. According to sources, constable was going to drop his daughter for her tuition classes when they were attacked. Here's what happened.
This is 9-year-old Safa. Blooded by terrorists in Kashmir while her father was shot dead. On Tuesday, terrorists fired indiscriminately at Saifullah Qadri, constable of the Jammu and Kashmir Police, who was on leave. He was targeted right outside his house in Soura's Ganai Mohalla in Srinagar. Watching the shots fired, this 9-year-old girl ran to save her father, clung to his arms as he battled for life. Heartless terrorists did not spare the child either and fired at her. Both received critical gunshot injuries and were rushed to the hospital, where the policeman succumbed. The child has suffered heavy blood loss, but is said to be stable at present. The area around Ganai Mohalla is cordoned off and a search is on to nab the terrorists. The police have vowed to bring the killers to justice.
पूरी सोसाइटी कश्मीर सोसाइटी एज ए होल सोसाइटी को इसका क्रिटिसाइज करना चाहिए, इसको करना चाहिए, हम सब क्रिटिसाइज करना चाहिए और टेररिस्ट की फैमिली को भी समझना पड़ेगा कि उनकी फैमिली को भी आगे आके टेररिस्ट के खिलाफ बोलना चाहिए.
One more innocent life has been snuffed out by radicalization and terrorism in Kashmir. Bureau Report, India Today.
We're getting you all the details of the story from Srinagar, in fact, where an unfortunate incident has taken place. My colleague Ashraf Vani will be joining us in a few moments from now. Ashraf is with us, in fact, right now. Ashraf, in fact, this entire incident has shocked the entire nation. The manner in which Pakistan has come out in support of different separatist elements in this region, but not said anything about this unfortunate incident. A child was targeted. Thankfully, her life was saved, but her father succumbed.
Absolutely, Sneha. This is one of the incidents which is currently going on since last so many years, and particularly during last few months, where particularly people are being targeted and killed by the terror groups. In fact, yesterday's incident, it is a horrific, where this father was proceeding from his home towards a tuition center with his daughter, 9-year-old Safa, and they were indiscriminately fired, where the father, Saifullah Qadri, succumbed to the injuries in the nearby hospital, and this daughter, 9-year-old Safa, is being treated in the hospital. One good news is only that the girl is recovering and she is stable, but not yet aware that what has happened to his father, with whom she was yesterday in afternoon out at his home. But now the main focus here for the security agencies is that how these kinds of targeted killings could be curbed in the future. That is the biggest challenge with the security agencies, as we know that there are the inputs with the security agencies, and already the TRF, which is being considered as one of the armed group of Lashkar-e-Taiba, they have already threatened not only the Jammu and Kashmir policemen, but in fact all the political workers and other people working for the nation here in the country. That is something which the security agencies and the security forces have to track. And also one of the modus operandi which is appearing in this killing is that the hybrid terrorism is at peak in the Jammu and Kashmir. Some of the youths just hold pistols, they carry these weapons, mingle with the populations, reach to any spot wherever they like, and then target specifically the people. And the police is saying that they are tracking this case wholly, and they have some clues, and very soon they are going to bring those culprits to the justice who have carried out this heinous crime here in the Srinagar city.
Yes, in fact, I was coming to that. What about the investigations in this entire matter? Ashraf, do get us up to speed with that.
Yes, as far as some CCTV footage has come up with the Jammu and Kashmir Police, they are just reviewing and looking into that, and probably what police is saying that they have some clues that who are the people responsible behind this shootout, and very soon they are going to track them. And in fact, when we are speaking here, there are some operations going on not only in that particular area but in the surrounding areas where all those overground workers are being questioned, who may be a link for this terror attack here in the Srinagar.
Ashrafani, thanks for getting us all of those details. We'll of course keep coming back to you for more on that important story that we're tracking from Jammu and Kashmir. India Today, meanwhile, has spoken exclusively to General KJS Dhillon over the killing of Jammu and Kashmir Police Constable Saifullah Qadri by terrorists. Remember that his 9-year-old child, his daughter, was also injured in the attack. Ashraf told us that she's doing well now. She's recovering. Listen into this exclusive conversation.
General Dhillon, you know, this kind of an incident, it shocks you. We're all heartbroken by what's happened, but it also makes your blood boil. A 9-year-old girl standing with her father, a cop, is shot at. The terrorists, seeing this little girl there, continue to shoot brazenly at the father. She is covering, she reportedly was holding the hand of her constable father, was covering herself with her arm, and that's what's led to her sustaining bullet injuries. You know, it's, like I said, heartbreaking, but also gets you so angry and riled up that this kind of an incident can even happen right now in the valley.
Thank you and good morning.
Good morning.
First
sir.
of all, I would like to pay my condolences to the family of Constable Saifullah Qadri, a very brave soldier from a very brave force, that is the Jammu Kashmir Police, who is fighting the terrorism head-on. And at the outset, I would like to say this is an act of desperation. This shows the inhuman face of terrorism, and it also shows that they have no qualms or no empathy for the children, the women, and the weaker section of society. No religion teaches killing of children, innocent women, and this is not the first time this has happened. This has happened in the past. If you remember, in February 2019, they had killed a young woman and made a video of it. They shot her point blank when she was pleading for her life. Then again in month of June 2019, they killed a SPO, Nagina Jan, at her home. I would like to say now recently in Tral, they killed a policeman, his wife and his daughter. Now what type of jihad is this? Are we getting into a society where we can kill innocent women and children or injure them and then claim that we are achieving our aim? Is this the propagation of the idea of ISI in Kashmir? The Kashmiri society, which is a very alert, very aware, very intellectual society, has to take a call. Is this the Kashmiriyat? Is this the way Kashmiri society was? Or is this the way to go forward, where our mothers, sisters and daughters are not safe, where they can be killed at any place? What was the fault of Saifullah Qadri? His fault was that he wore uniform. He was earning a bread for his family. What was the fault of this young girl? Her fault was her father was a policeman. So is this the way society has to work? And my condolences again to the family. And this is how I feel about this incident. This is not justified in any civil society for whatever the cause. Thank you.
General, for anyone who tries to garner sympathy for these radical elements, claiming that circumstances forced them to do this, to apparently shoot at a constable, to apparently shoot at a 9-year-old girl, what's your message to them?
The message is very clear. Kashmiri society is not going to take it, and I have been part of this team security forces or the security apparatus in Kashmir for a very, very long time. Whenever such an incident happens, I can assure you the information comes from the local Kashmiri people. They don't want these things to happen. They want these people to be eliminated at the earliest. These heinous crimes committed by these barbaric people, this Kashmiri society wants them to be eliminated at the earliest. I remember an incident where under Operation Ma, which we are doing in Kashmir, wherein we are approaching the mothers of the boys who had joined terrorism tanzims and asking the boys to return to their parents and normal life. And one such boy was involved in a similar incident. And I remember his mother telling our officers, I don't want this boy back because he is not Kashmiri, he is not living by Kashmiri society norms. You do whatever with him, I don't want him back in my house, I don't want him to be called my son, and I don't want to be his mother. That is how Kashmiri society is. So Kashmiri people, the Kashmiri society will give information, and as per my information, the terrorists have already been identified, the information is already flowing, and it's just a matter of time that Kashmiri, with the help of Kashmiri society, the Kashmiri people, this type of act will be delivered justice very soon.
We have full confidence that the security personnel on ground, that the police will ensure justice here, will ensure that the perpetrators, the terrorists behind this barbaric act are nabbed at the soonest. General, you've been someone who's worked in Kashmir, who understands the ins and outs of how the valley works. You've worked in several and led several counter-terror operations as well. When incidents like this happen, and considering in the last few weeks, we've seen several incidents of security personnel, of minorities, of Kashmiri Pandits being targeted, the question then people tend to ask is whether things truly have improved in the valley.
See, the security situation in the valley is very good as of now. The security along the line of control is very nice. And these incidents where you can pick up an innocent civilian who is unarmed, who is unaware, who has got nothing to do with what is going on in Kashmir. He is just going to his office, earning his bread, returning to his family in the evening, or he is just doing a job in Kashmir Police, or for that matter anywhere else. His daughter is just a very lovable child who loves her father. Now if you pick up a weapon and go and shoot any of these unarmed, innocent civilians in cold blood, now that does not mean the security situation is bad. That only means these people are desperate. They have no respect for the law, they have no respect for the women and the children, and they have no respect for the religion, whichever religion they may belong to. This is not Kashmiriyat, this is not Kashmir. So we should not link these incidents where innocent, unarmed civilians or the girls and the children have been killed, or the policeman while on leave when he is unarmed are killed, with the overall security situation. Overall security situation in the valley is very much under control.
Okay.
People are moving around, doing their business. The tourists are coming. Everyone is going about their life in a very, very normal manner. And overall security situation is reasonably good.
Do you believe, General, then that this is an act of desperation by cowards, by these terrorists, when they're targeting security personnel, when they're targeting men and women in uniform?
Absolutely. This is an act of absolute desperation. When they know their designs are failing, when they know the popular sport is failing, when they know they cannot take on the security forces head on, when they know they cannot remain in news, they will be eliminated. That is when their masters from across, they tell them to involve or indulge in such acts where the target is a very innocent and who cannot retaliate. This is where their desperation is showing, and it's showing loud and clear. And more importantly, they have no respect, they have no empathy. That only means they are not human, as we call it, or as we know the humans. The terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist. And that is exactly what they are. And the justice, the way security forces deals with them, will be delivered in due course.
Also, General, I want to get your reaction on how Pakistan has responded. In the last 24 hours, there's been a tweet that's been put out by the Pakistan Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif, where he's condemned the conviction of a terrorist. He's condemned the conviction of Yasin Malik, but not a word mentioned about this young girl, about 9-year-old Safa. Are you really surprised by that?
Absolutely. There is no surprise in this. This is exactly how the Pakistan has been behaving. They would speak about everything else other than what acts they are doing. Why talk about Pakistan politicians? Our own politicians in the valley. Do they ever speak against such acts? Do they ever name a terrorist, or do they ever name Pakistan? They would, if at all, they would give a wishy-washy statement, the violence and this and that. They never come out clean and openly and say bluntly, this is an act of terrorism by Pakistan. Our own politicians need to be made aware of these things, and this is how the Kashmiri people should understand. When innocent Kashmiris are getting killed, no one is raising a voice about them other than the security forces.
General, that's why I want to put the focus on what you've said. You've raised a very pertinent point. Forget Pakistan. There are apologists in our soil who continue to bat for these terrorists, who say that, this radicalization, all terror needs to be addressed with a very different message rather than what's happening and what's being done currently in the valley. Do you believe that this kind of an incident will be a wake-up call to them, or you really don't see that changing at all, that unfortunately these kind of apologists for terror are deep-rooted?
We all have seen these politicians long enough. Their conscience is dead. This is yet another incident for them for which they will keep quiet for 24 hours and let things pass till another incident happens. I would request every Indian, every right-thinking Indian to come out and condemn such incidents and let this be a wake-up call, as you very rightly said, for the society, the Kashmiri conscious, the Kashmiri people's conscious to wake up, and they should reject. It will be the Kashmiri people's call to reject such acts of terrorism, and then, as we say, khushhali tab aayegi. Peace will return to the valley when Kashmiri people themselves contribute for bringing the peace.
My final question to you, General Dhillon, as someone who's worked in Kashmir, led so many counter-terror operations, how do you change things that are happening in the valley? And I'm referring to the fact that you still have Pakistani jihadi elements active in Kashmir. You still have radicalization clearly happening. How do you de-radicalize on the ground?
This is handled at different levels. Security forces go in for the hard anti-terrorist operations, wherein they eliminate the people who are indulging in terrorist actions and keep the security situation at a manageable level and try and eliminate the terrorism completely. Whereas at the political, at the bureaucratic and at the government level, the various initiatives of infrastructure development, better education for the children, better job opportunities. You give a child a better education, he will get into a better school or a college, then he is not available as a cannon fodder for the terrorist organizations. Better education is a definite key to not being radicalized. I'll give a small example. In Kashmir Valley, Army runs 28 Army Goodwill schools. There are about 10,000 students at any one time who are studying in these schools. The teachers are local Kashmiri teachers. Students are local Kashmiri students, like any other school in Kashmir. And we carried out an analysis of the entire duration of these schools which are running for last 20-25 years. Not a single boy from Army Goodwill School picked up a weapon or joined any terrorist tanzim, ever. Now that only shows if you have a good education, you will get a chance to get into a good college or a university or a professional college, then your future is very clearly laid out. Now, if the education system is not good, if the education which you are getting is not good, and you are more than sure that you are not going to get into a good college, then you are available to these terrorists for recruitment in their tanzims. So first and foremost is bring up the education system. De-radicalization will happen on its own, and all the agencies of the government, all the departments should work together like a punch, and then only the punch will be delivered.
Words that the entire country, I'm sure, is listening to right now. Lieutenant General Dhillon, always a pleasure to have you here on India Today. Do appreciate you taking the time out and joining us here. You've got someone who's led counter-terror operations in Kashmir. They're speaking about what it really takes to make a difference in the valley and saying that this is nothing but a cowardly act, an act out of desperation to target a man in uniform when he was with his 9-year-old daughter. Thanks again, General, for joining us here on India Today.
Well, amid the radical Islamist jihadis that are killing innocent people in the valley, Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif is batting for terror convict Yasin Malik. On Tuesday, terrorists opened fire at 9-year-old child Safa after she tried to save her father, Constable Saifullah, in Srinagar, Soura area. Safa received bullet injuries in her arm while trying to rescue her father. However, her father, Saifullah Qadri, succumbed to his critical bullet injuries. Earlier, Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, openly supported terror convict Yasin Malik. This comes after Yasin has been pleading guilty in the 2017 terror case. The Prime Minister of Pakistan took to Twitter, urging the world to take note of the Indian government's mistreatment and called Yasin a political prisoner. Sharif has also alleged the terror charges on Yasin and the killings on the Kashmiris are fake. Does the terror sympathizer Shehbaz Sharif's heart bleed for this terrorist and not for the 9-year-old child who lost her father just right in front of her? Attack after attack bleeds the valley. Terrorists won't even spare children. There is no end to targeted killings in Kashmir, and the killings have been on the rise in the last 5 months or so. Take a look.
Rajouri, Bandipora, Baramulla, Sunjwan, Pakistan-sponsored terrorism continues to bleed Jammu and Kashmir, molding itself into new forms such as hybrid terrorism and now narco-terrorism.
पाकिस्तानी टेररिस्ट जो है पिस्टल यूज करता है. हैदरपुरा इनकाउंटर हो, चाहे हैदराबाद का इनकाउंटर हो या खनियार का इनकाउंटर हो, इसमें जो पाकिस्तानी टेररिस्ट मारे गए सारे के पास से पिस्टल मिला है. पिस्टल से इसको कंसील करने में ईजी होता है, मूवमेंट में दिक्कत नहीं होती है और टारगेटिंग करना ईजी होता है. ये हम लोग के लिए एक इमर्जिंग नया थ्रेट है.
In a span of just 5 months, targeted killings have been on the rise. Hindu minorities, security forces, all are in the line of fire. Not just the mode of terror, the network itself is getting a revamp. New terror outfits have sprung which uses cadres of banned terrorist organizations like Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen. While forces across the border are trying hard to revive terrorism with sustained operations carried out by our security forces, at least 145 terrorists have been killed this year alone. The Naya Kashmir that is taking shape will not bow to terror. Bureau Report, India Today.